I, Rashad, come to you again with this truth, giving all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, double honors to the apostles and elders at Great Millstone who rule well, and salutations to the Akim that's across the four corners of the earth, pushing his word, sincerity, and truth. Alright, rightly dividing the word of truth and risking their lives and freedom to do so. Alright, I'm going to open up with this topic, and this one is really of significance unto me personally, because of the simple fact that right when I was coming into the truth back in about 2014, this was a reoccurring situation in Ukraine and Kiev, more importantly. All right, now I'm just gonna go ahead and read the headline and a couple paragraphs from it. It says, up to 1,000 Ukrainian nationalists clash with police, block parliament. Around 1,000 protesters, mainly from Ukraine's nationalist movements, have blocked the parliament building in Kiev and several streets in the area, while deputies were voting on immunity of certain MPs. Police deployed tear gas to repel crowds turning violent. All right, now the reason that this is of significance unto me personally is because, like I said, when I was first coming in, this was going on Vice TV, and you would be getting a so-called live stream footage from the riots that was taking place. And as I was coming in, this all being new to me, this truth that is, and seeing these things taking place, I thought the end was, coming then. All right, and I had to double down and get on my shit right then and there, which that was the spirit to get me motivated, get me started, get me going, getting more into this truth, as the scriptures say in Baruch 4:28, seeking them 10 times more. But this happening again in 2017. All right, I'm just gonna play a quick little footage for you to see, and then I'm gonna show you some footage from 2014, the shit that I saw. Alright, I'm gonna stop right there. Let this be Israelites doing this, and we get arrested and killed for less than what they did. But this paragraph here, the last one that it says, no one has been arrested according to Interfax. Alright, so it is just mind-boggling, but you see that there's uproars amongst the people. Alright, so I'm about to show you some footage from what I seen first coming in, then I'm gonna get into a couple scriptures. Alright.
Раз, два, три, четыре, пять.
So you guys could watch the full 15 minutes at your own leisure. What was going on was they had mercenaries that was shooting at both the police officers and the protesters. And the reason they were protesting is because they did not want to become first they didn't want to become a part of Russia. They was basically independent for a significant amount of time. They wanted to remain independent, but because they're so close, Russia basically was trying to force them to to become one another, because they once had jurisdiction over Ukraine. All right. And lastly, it was something going on with the president that was basically, he was using fraud. All right. Because they ended up going into his house. You can just type that in if you want to. Kiev or Ukraine president 2014 on YouTube. And you'll see that they actually took over his house. They went in and found like real gold and silver utensils for eating. An all gold toilet seat. He had his own helipad. While the countries, look damn near third world. So long story short, there was also in an uproar for that. I don't remember all the details, but you guys could look it up. So with that being said, there's nothing new under the sun, and it's all reoccurring again, as people say in the world, history repeating itself. I got a couple of scriptures lined up, as this is Isaiah 19:2. It says, "And I will set the Egyptians against the Egyptians, and they shall fight every one against his brother, and every one against his neighbor, city against city, and kingdom against kingdom." And that's what we see going on. All right. Now these people, these so-called white people, these Edomites today, are in the land of Egypt, and they go and whitewash themselves as being the true Egyptians. Look at the movies if you don't agree. All right. You'll never find a movie of a so-called black power or black ruler, anything God related, if you will, without seeing the Edomite trying to portray that role. So long story short, these Egyptians against the Egyptians is modern day Edomites against other Edomites, whether it be Russians against Ukrainians, the same exact people, or Russians against Americans. And that's what's going to be the final play out. And that's the scripture that's coming into fruition as we speak. All right. 2nd Ezra 9:1. He answered me then and said, "Measure thou the time diligently in itself, and when thou seest part of the signs pass, which I have told thee before, then shalt thou understand that it is the very same time wherein the highest will begin to visit the world which he made. Therefore, when there shall be seen earthquakes and uproars of the people in the world, then shalt thou well understand that the Most High spake of those things from the days that were before thee, even from the beginning." And that's what we see. All right. We see uproars, earthquakes in diverse places, and people fighting against each other. So it is the very same time when the highest will begin to visit the world which he made. All right. You're starting to see a lot more chariot sightings. It's starting to become a norm to see chariots now. When before you had, you'll catch them every other day or so. Now you're starting to see them like every night. And so on and so forth. There's more and more news coming out of protests and riots and things of that nature. Sedition amongst men. Alright. Also got 2nd Ezra 15:14. It says, "Woe to the world and them that dwell therein." Woe means death and destruction. So to the vast majority of the people in the world, that's what's gonna come. Death and destruction. As you've seen on Independence Day. Hey, the scripture says, 2nd Ezra the 13th chapter, that men shall be fighting one against another. I believe it's the 13th chapter. And they're going to stop fighting one another just to turn to fight the Lord when he come back. And so what they portraying in these movies is going to be a real life event, but they're not going to prevail over the Lord. All right, he come back in an angelic power, in an angelic being. One that can materialize and dematerialize. One you can't bound and grapple as they did before. Verse 15, "For the sword and their destruction draweth nigh, and one people shall stand up and fight against another, and swords in their hands." So one people going to stand up and fight against another, and swords in their hands. As you've seen on the videos, the one in 2014, they were actually sniping each other, shooting and killing each other. And primarily in Ukraine, many of them didn't have weapons of guns of that nature. Only the police did. So it was like a heavy outnumberance of who had the arsenals. And then over time, and it took a nice little minute. I want to say a couple months, before they start getting things under control, so-called under control. But during that process, some police officers would die. They'd pick up their shields. That's why you're seeing someone with their shields. Other people, they just had homemade, things of defense. Probably break a door in half, break a door off its hinges, and use that as a shield. And what you see in these videos, it was gonna come to pass in your lifetime when you start seeing martial law. When you look out the house, and you're gonna be seeing the same thing that you're seeing in third world countries taking place on your city streets. What's going on down in South and Central America will make its way to North America, and has been prophesied. Matter of fact, here it is, verse 16, for there shall be sedition among men. That's that rebellion against an authority, where these people are going to rebel against these police officers and these people that's unjustly judging over them. As they had an incident in California where some 19-year-old teenage girl was mistaken for a bald man wielding a machete, and they're getting a lot of outcry. Basically, picture that Rodney King incident, but they not at the level of the LA riots, the protesters that is. They're not at the level of the LA riots. Jake was in their prime when that shit was popping off. Now they calmed down. They old lions, as the scriptures say. Israel is, that is. So the Lord got to put that spirit back on them to rouse up, as it says in Genesis 49:9. So it says, there shall be sedition among men, and invading one another. They shall not regard their kings nor princes, and the course of their actions shall stand in their power. A man shall desire to go into a city and shall not be able. And that's what you're seeing going on. Alright, where they said they blocked the parliaments in that article I just read. And that also took place, I reported on it, in Venezuela, where 100 protesters trapped 350 congressmen and guests and journalists inside of a building and wouldn't let them leave. Only really injuring one, but that's that sedition amongst men. And that's how we know that we in the end times, the end of the end, the bitter end of the last days. So with all that being said, there's nothing new under the sun. And we're seeing people starting to rebel. All we're waiting on is for Israel to be sealed and for the Lord to increase that judgment of what's about to take place in these latter days. We got last major prophecies that's about to come to pass, such as the RFID chip. Alright. The hour of temptation that's coming into fruition in our lifetime. This was the incident, by the way. They mistaken a 19-year-old so-called black girl for a machete-wielding adult male. Alright. And that's another topic for another day. But just letting you see. Alright. So hopefully this was edifying to whomever may be tuning in. And to the few sincere sisters who watch us, and to the brothers across the four corners of the earth, rightly dividing the word of truth. To you I say shalom, which means peace be unto you. Alright. Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahweh Shah Brakatham.